Hi, I'm Nicholas from NOH-modular, and this is the Getting Started guide for the Pianist module. To get started, we're going to take the Chord module from Qubit Electronics, but instead of using it in the normal mode, we're going to use it in a mode where it outputs 4 independent oscillators tuned to the same frequency as you can hear. Now we're going to take the mix output, but we're not going to let it drone because that would be pretty horrible to the ear after 10 minutes, so we're going to pass it through a VCA. And that VCA is going to be controlled with an envelope that has a slow attack and slow decay. And that envelope in turn will get triggered by the clock output of the Pianist. So every clock cycle from the Pianist, we're going to hear the chord that's currently being played to get a better sense of rhythm, as you can hear. So once that's done, we can patch the Pianist to control with volt per octave the 4 oscillators. There's only 4, so we're going to pick the roots. We're going to pick the 3rd. We're also going to pick the 7th, and as you can see on the screen, there's no 7th right now, so it's going to output a 5th instead. And finally, we're going to pick the first color, and again, because there's no color, it's going to be the 5th. We're almost done. We're just going to add a bass note, and for that, we're going to take the root output of the chords, and we're going to pass it through a clock divider. Essentially what that does is divide the frequency by 2 or by 4 or however we set it, and by dividing it by 2 we're setting the root note to be an octave lower to get the bass note. I'm going to pass it through a low pass filter just because the output of the clock divider is a square wave, and as you can hear it's pretty harsh sounding if it's not low pass filtered. So we want to prevent it to use too much space in the spectrum so that we can still hear the chord. The Pianist is controlled with a joystick. You can go up, down, left, right, and click to edit whatever you're on. Right now I'm editing the root note of the chord. You can also edit the quality of the chord, and there's all the standard quality for chords you can find. You can also add, enable, or disable the 7th of the chord, and as I said before, disabling it makes it output a 5th instead. You have 2 colors available, and there's a lot of options for your colors. I'm only going to edit the first one because we only picked the first one for the volt per octave. But yeah, you have a lot of options for colors. And finally, you can edit the over note. The over note is basically changing the root note of the chord while keeping the same chord. So you're going to keep the C major 7, but instead the root note will be a D. And this way you can make progressions while keeping the chord as the same. You have 32 slots to edit chords in, and you can access them through 4 pages of 8 slots. So if we go back to the first page, that's where the C major 7 is. And if we go to the edit menu, you can copy paste, you can clear, or you can clear the entire sequence of chords. So I'm going to copy paste to the 2nd slot, the C major 7. Another way to paste is if you, let's say you copy the C major 7, then the slot you want to paste it to, you're going to press it on and you're going to keep it pressed long enough, and it's going to paste automatically without going to the edit menu. Let's go to the global menu to start a quick progression, and for that we're going to use the major scale. So you can go to the scale option and set it to major, and currently all scales are going to be in the root of A. So if we go back to the sequence, you can see that now the A is major because A major has an A major. And as I go through the roots, you can see they snap to the roots that are in A major, and the quality follows too with the quality of the chord in A major. So we can do a quick little progression, and for that we're going to start by the root, and we're going to go up a 4th to D major 7. And again, it snaps automatically, so you don't have to edit the quality. And to end, we're gonna go with a 2/5 to go back to the 1. So the 2 would be a B minor 7, and the 5th, which is the dominant of the scale, is an E7. And this will go back to the A major 7 of the first note. So to play it, you're gonna have to press the play stop button, and if we do that right now, you can see that it plays the sequence normally up until the E7, and at the E7, instead of going back to the first, you can see it's going to go to the 5th chord instead. Now we don't want that because we want it to loop back to the first. And that's because by default the pianist basically increases the slot by 1 up until the last one, and then it loops back to the first. So for that, we're going to go to the chord menu, and I'm going to explain quickly what the chord menu does. You can basically edit all the chord related options. The first one being the voicing, and that's whether the pianist automatically voices your chord to make sense as a progression. You can enable or disable that. The second option is a shift, and that takes the lowest or highest note of your chord and puts it up an octave or down an octave, depending on if you're shifting up here or you're shifting down, as you can hear right now. The third option is the spread option, and that's a bit different from shift. Instead of shifting it, it will make the voicings more open by putting the higher notes higher and keeping the lower notes low. And then the chord directions, you have go to option and you have the den option. The den is what we want to make it loop back. If I set it to 1, as you'll see when I play the sequence, by setting the den to 1 on the E7 chord, when we get to E7, it's going to go back to the 1, as you can see right now. So that's how you create a loop with 4 chords. Now for the go-to, I'm going to explain. Let's go back to the A major 7 chord. If we wanted to loop twice on itself before going to the D major 7, we're going to use the go-to option. So if I set the go-to, you can set it to any chord, but let's set it to 1, which is itself. If I set the go-to to 1, and I set the amount of time it goes to 1 to 2, it's going to go to 1 twice, and then it's going to go to 2, which is the D major 7 chord. So I'm going to set it to 1 times 2, and as you can see in the sequence, it goes to itself 2 times before going to the D major chord. And again, because we set the E7 to then go to 1, it's going to go to 1 and loop back. Right. So now I'm going to explain what the global menu does. As you can see, we already set it to major scale with the scale option. You have the mode option, which is more of an extended option, but you can set it to be compatible with plats or chords, which are widely used modules for chords. And there's the gate function, which is a multi-function gate that does a lot of musically interesting stuff, both structurally and musically. The first one is a reset, which is pretty straightforward. Once it's pressed, it will reset the sequence to its initial state, as if it was just played. So that's not really musical, but it's definitely important for a sequencer. And as you can see, it takes effect only once the next chord is played after you pressed it. The second option is the random one, and that's way more interesting. It basically randomizes the color to a color that's dependent and works well with the quality of the chord that it randomizes to. So for the E7, it's going to be, it's going to be a color that's more flat 9, flat 13th, whereas the major chords are going to have 6 and 9th, and so on. So it's going to have a color that will work well no matter what with the quality of the chord. And it randomizes it every time you press it. Yeah. So the next option for the gate is the shift option, and that will octave shift the chord that is being edited. And you get a 3 out of 4 chance of a 1 octave shift, and the rest will be a 2 octave, which is 1 out of 4 of getting a 2 octave shifts that you can hear right now. The next function is a spread function, and that spreads the chord between 0 and 3 times. So there's an equal chance for all of that to happen. So you can get 0 spread as much as you can get 3 spreads out of that spread function. Again, very musically efficient tool for that purpose. The next function is the freeze function, and that is a bit different because it's momentary. So as soon as you press it, it's gonna freeze the sequence, and what that means is that the pianist will ignore the clock. So it's gonna stay on the chord that it was before you pressed it. And again, it's as long as you press it, so it's not gonna be latching. You have to keep it pressed or send the gate through the gate function input from your modular synthesizer. the last function is skipping to a page. As you can see, you can choose page 1 through 2, 3, or 4. And let's go to page 3, and we're gonna edit the first chord. So let's just put an A flat chord. And basically the function will jump to the first chord of the page you select. So right now we have this A flat chord, and for the purpose of the loop, we're gonna go to the chord menu, and we're gonna make it loop back to the first, because as I said, by default, the pianist will make the chord go to the next one in order. So we don't want that. We want it to go back to the first one, to go back to the loop. So if we set the function, the gate to go to page 3, when the gate is pressed, or you send a gate through the gate input, it's gonna jump to the first chord of the third page, which is the one we edited. So you're gonna hear the A flat chord. And because we set it to go back to 1, once it's done playing the A flat, it's gonna go back to the main loop. And this again is a very efficient way to have song structure where you have secret passages that you as a player, you choose when you want that structure to happen. So yeah, that's all the functions there is available for the multifunction gate input. A lot of musically coherent and efficient tools. Thanks for watching. The Pianist is available to buy currently at Signal Sounds, but if you want to find out if there's more distributors or more info in general, like the user manual, you can go to the NOH-modular website. All the links will be below in the description. Thanks a lot.